Make some noise for your next comedian, very funny Tom Touchstone, everybody. Give it up for Tom.
How's everybody doing tonight? I used to drive a cab in Atlanta during the 80s, and one night I picked up a hooker, drove her across town. When we got to the destination, I turned and said, that'll be $20. She spread her legs and said, take it out in this. I said, you got anything any smaller? Yeah, at night I was sitting in a bar having a drink, and a guy comes in and sits down next to me. He starts talking to me about his dog, all these tricks his dog will do. And he says, my dog will even give you a blowjob. I said, I don't believe that. He said, come on outside, I'll show you. So I walked outside with him, walked around the side, and all of a sudden there's an old bloodhound laying on the side. And he's laying there looking up, getting long ears, the big eyes looking up at me. The guy says, pull it out. I said, all right. So I pulled it out. He says to the dog, he says, all right, Blue, you know what to do. The dog just sits there, looking up. The guy says, come on, Blue, you know what to do. Go at it. The dog just sits there looking at it. So the guy gets on his knees and says, all right, Blue, this is the last time I'm going to show you this trick. Think about it. A few months ago, my wife and I were planning to take a trip to Pittsburgh. So I happened to be at the airport one day, decided I'd go get some tickets. So as I'm walking up to the ticket counter, I noticed the girl working behind the counter has huge breasts. So when I walked up to her, I said, I'd like to buy 2 tickets to Pittsburgh. I mean 2 tickets to Pittsburgh. And I was so embarrassed. A couple of days later, I was talking to a friend of mine. I said, tell him what happened. I said, I guess they call that a Freudian slip. I said, have you ever had anything like that happen to you? He said, yeah. He said, just the other morning I was having breakfast with my wife, and I meant to say, pass the salt. Instead, I said, you bitch, you've earned my life. Had to go to the doctor the other day for a physical. I'm sitting in the room, and the doctor walks in and grabs the clipboard and reaches for his pocket to grab his pen. Instead, he pulls out a rectal thermometer. He looks at me and goes, some asshole's got my pen. I said, Doc, what's the difference between a rectal thermometer and an oral thermometer? He said, the taste. He said, I need to get a urine sample, a stool sample, and a sperm sample from you. So I gave him my underwear and left. A few minutes later, I came back. I said, by the way, Doc, those suppositories you prescribed to me last week aren't working. He said, are you sure you're taking them the right way? I said, hell yeah, I'm taking them the right way. What do you think I'm doing, sticking them in my ass? He said, I need to check your prostate. He said, take your pants off, get up on the table, and lay on your side. So I'm laying there. He's got his fingers up my ass. He says, you know, Tom, it's no need to be embarrassed. He said, it's not unusual to get an erection during an examination like this. I said, but I don't have an erection. He said, I know, but I do. Thank you very much. Woman gets a job at a sperm bank. One day a man walks in wearing a mask and points a gun at her and says, I want you to drink one of those specimen jars. She said, what did you say? He said, I want you to drink one of those specimen jars. So she does as he says. When she's finished, the man rips off his mask, and it's her husband. And he says, now that wasn't so bad, was it? Thank you. The first time I ever saw a woman naked, I was just 5 years old. I accidentally walked in on my mother getting out of the shower. I pointed to her crotch and I said, "What's that?" My mother hesitated a minute. She said, "Last night your father and I had a fight, and that's where your father hit me with an axe." I said, "Oh, got you right in the pussy, didn't it?" You can go ahead and laugh. That's all right. When I was 10 years old, a buddy of mine loaned me one of his Playboy magazines. I took it home and I stayed in my room for like 3 months with the door locked, trying to get a grip on life. One day my dad barged in and said, "Son, if you don't stop masturbating, you're going to go blind." I said, "Dad, I'm over here." When I was in the 5th grade, I came home from school and told my mother that I had sex with my teacher. She was furious. She sent me to my room. My dad came home. She sent him up to my room to talk to me. So my dad comes in, closes the door, and says, "Son, your mom tells me you had sex with your teacher today." I said, "Yes, sir." He says, "To be honest with you, I'm kind of proud of you." I said, "If you'd like, I'll take you out and buy you an ice cream." I said, "Thanks, Dad, but can we do it another night? Right now, my ass is still burning." So I had a buddy of mine who's at the University of Georgia, and he called me up and he told me that he had heard that there was a courthouse in Athens, and said, "I need to come up and just go check it out." So I thought, well, before I do that, I better go buy a condom. So I went to a drugstore, walked back to the pharmacy. There was a woman pharmacist working there, and I looked to her and said, "I'd like to buy condoms." She said, "What size you wear?" I said, "I don't know. I've never bought them before." She says, she comes around the counter, and she says, "All right, pull it out." I'll check. So I pulled it out. She took her fingers, ran across top of it, ran her fingers around it. And she walked over and got on the intercom and said, "We need to clean up on aisle 3. I've been having some strange dreams lately. Yeah, it must be the pot I'm smoking. I don't know. Last night I had the weirdest one though. I dreamed I had oral sex with a chicken. All day long I've had this big lump in my throat. Last week I went to a seminar on premature ejaculation. Got there 15 minutes early. When I was in my 30s, I drove a taxi cab here in Atlanta. And one night I picked up a hooker, drove her across town, and when we got to the destination, I turned and said, "That'd be $20. And she spread her legs and said, "Take it out in this." I looked at her and said, "You got anything any smaller?" I like this guy. When I was in high school, I worked at a grocery store. I was a cashier. And one day this woman comes through the line and she's got like 4 giant bags of dog food. And I said, "Wow." I said, "You must have a really large dog." And she said, "No, this is for my husband." I said, "Your husband?" She said, "Yeah." She said, "He's developed this strange desire for dog food." So about 3 weeks later, she comes through the line and she doesn't have a single bag with her. No dog food at all. I said, excuse me, I said, what happened? Did your husband lose his taste for dog food? And she said, no, he died. I said, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I said, if you don't mind me asking, how'd he die? She said, he was lying in the road licking his balls and a truck ran over him. I was watching one of these. I was watching one of these game shows the other night, and it was one where you have to guess the secret word. And they had this 95-year-old woman on it as a contestant. She was old and frail, and she had used a walker to get out there. And the secret word was donkey dicks. So the old lady says, she says, is it something you would eat? And the audience starts snickering. And the host says, well, I guess you could say that. She thinks for a minute. She goes, is it donkey dicks? I'm glad one person got that. When I was in the first grade, I came home from school and I told my mom, I said, Mom, the teacher asked a question in class today and I was the only person that could answer it. She said, that's great. What was the question? I said, who farted? I don't know how many of you out there too young to remember the Sears catalog, but it was a catalog that Sears would mail out to everybody's home that had everything in the world you could think of, including men and women's underwear section, which when you're a young teen growing up, that was the closest I ever got to seeing a woman's body. This is a true story, I swear. When I was in high school, there was a rumor going around that the upcoming edition of the catalog featured a photograph of a male model with his manhood protruding beneath his underwear. True story. So I was dying to see if that was actually true. So I kept looking for the catalog to arrive every day, checking to see if it came. So one day I came home from school and I walked in the little family room and there's the catalog sitting on the dining room table. So I picked it up, I sat on the sofa, and quickly started flipping through to get to the underwear section. And about that time, my mother comes walking through the room. So I quickly flipped back over to the sporting goods section. And as she walked past me, she leaned over and said, page 205. True story. So last week, I'm watching the news on TV, and they had sent a reporter to interview this guy who just turned 100 years old. So the reporter asked the old man, he says, so you just turned 100 years old, what's your secret? And the old man says, well, I gave a man a blowjob for his watch once. And the reporter goes, no. I mean, what's the secret to living a long life? Oh, lots of fruits and vegetables. I came in here this time a month ago for the comedy show, and I was sitting at the end of the bar. There was an empty seat next to me, and this really attractive girl comes walking in and sits down next to me. So we struck up a little conversation. At some point, I asked her, I said, what's your name? She said, Carmen. I said, that's an interesting name. I said, is that from your mother or your father? She said, no, actually, I gave that to myself. I said, really? She goes, yeah. She said, it encompasses the two things in life that I love the most, cars and men. I said, that's interesting. She said, so what's your name? I said, Bear Pussy. Last week I went on a job interview, and the guy who was interviewing me asked me, "What would you say is your biggest fault?" I said, "Probably my honesty." He said, "I really don't think that honesty is a fault." I said, "I don't give a fuck what you think." A little boy walks in on his parents having sex. He screams and runs out of the room crying, back down the hall into his room. The mother says to the father, "I think you need to go have a talk with him." So the father gets up, gets dressed, he walks down the hall, walks in his son's room, sees his son fucking his grandmother. The father says, "What the hell are you doing?" The boy says, "See, it's not so funny when it's your mom." All right, I want to leave you guys with just one final thought. Perspective. Perspective. The next time you think that my life sucks because your friends have bought bigger, nicer houses, they're driving brand new cars, more expensive cars, just remember that things are not always what they seem. I have a friend who doesn't have to work. He doesn't have any financial problems. He reads 2 books a week. He works out twice a day. And he has multiple people that want to have sex with him all the time. And yet, he constantly complains about how much he hates being in prison. Guys, thank you very much. My name is Touchstone.